here we go. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay. Let's see if this works. Does anyone else have the option to record as well? Because I think this is trying to record through my phone now, which is a bit silly.
I think mine's recording for some bizarre reason. I'm appearing to be some technological maestro, but I think it's recording. Yeah. Oh, hey, I know how to do that. I'm kind of completely computer illiterate, but it does say it's recording on my machine.
Okay. I just hope it's not trying to save it to my phone and that Zoom is actually doing it. Hello, Ellie from Washington State. Well, that'd be nice to see where everyone's at, actually, all around the world. Just before we start, so I'm in Bulgaria, obviously a Brit. Does everyone wants to just quickly share where they're at?
Sorry.
Hi, Kirsty from who's British in the Czech Republic. Awesome.
I'm Fiona, and I'm in Essex, in the UK.
I'm going to pick on people. Tim, where are you at?
I'm in Croydon, just south of London.
Croydon, awesome. Penny?
I'm currently in Sicily, obviously British.
Amazing. Hello, Andy from Dorset, UK.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Hi there. Yes, I can. How are you doing?
Cool. Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Great to have you. How about Ellie? Where are you? Also, you've already gone.
Yeah. Hi, I'm in Washington State in the US.
Amazing, amazing. Dagmara, how do I say your name? Sorry. Is it Dagmara? Or Tiffany, where are you? People are probably frantically trying to click the unmute button and figuring it out. I'm sorry, I'm picking on people, but if you want to say hi and share where you are, that'd be awesome. Cool, great. So for those who've missed it, Max will try and join. We're going to record this. Hopefully, we have some nice conversations. It's going to be super informal. You know, we're really lucky to have you know, these wonderful ambassadors to help push forward the agenda of the need for this movement of action, and to be part of the climate app, which is the tool that 27 of us have spent the last 2 years creating. We really believe that this is the tool that is missing, and is going to hopefully really help transform society and push it towards a direction of a low carbon one. It's very exciting times. We have pretty much made the beta app now. We are externally testing it now with people. We're starting to develop the iOS app. So far, feedback has been incredibly positive about the app. Of course, we need to see what it'll be like when people who don't care about the climate start using it. You know, that's going to be the real breaker, whether or not we can, you know, convert the people who don't currently care or aren't doing anything. So it's a long journey, and you know, that's why testing is so important, to test it with lots of different types of people to get all the different types of feedback, and to, you know, really make this app a very, very large and diverse product that will appeal to lots of different types of people. So that's the grand ambition, as I'm sure you all know what we're doing, and we're you know, very fortunate to have lots of people, you know, a large network helping to push forward this agenda. You know, as such, with Fiona and Penny here today. So I'll do just a very quick introduction, but perhaps both of you can expand on that a bit more, if that's possible. Fiona Oaks is a British distance runner who holds 4 world records for marathon running. As I believe she's the fastest woman to run all 7 marathons in all 7 continents and the North Pole. She won both the Antarctic Ice Marathon and the North Pole Marathon. She runs despite losing a kneecap due to a tumor when she was 17 years old. And she's also been a vegan since she was 6. And then we've got Penny Salmon on the call as well, Threads for a Penny, if you search on social media. And she's very into upcycling, pre-loved fashion and imperfect. And she has an Imperfect Eco account. And to her, sustainable fashion is the number 1, or perhaps sustainable fashion is the number 1. Is that recycling action that we can do, as I can see it. Okay, so over to you. I'm gonna throw it over to you, Fiona, if that's all right. If you can just do a bit of an introduction.
Yeah. Righty-ho. Right, here I go. Well, I'm obviously not professional at this in any way, shape or form, so you must forgive me. So as Sam said, I'm Fiona Oaks. I'm nothing special at all. I'm not an expert on anything. I'm not an expert on climate change. I don't purport to be. I'm just an ordinary individual like everyone else who sees the need to make a difference, a positive difference on this planet with which we reside. We all reside. We're all in this together. That's my main message. It's everything I do just comes from a raw gut feeling, kind of to make change for the better. We're a global community that has to act together now. I have been vegan for almost 50 years. That's where everybody's kind of inroad into the climate and the current status of what's going on is going to be different. My journey comes from veganism. As Sam said, I went vegan when I was 6 years old. I didn't understand what the term vegan was. I understood the principle behind it. It just comes, I just loved animals and I didn't want to harm them. And from that, it's grown into running an animal sanctuary. I've run Tower Hill Stables for 25 years, my animal sanctuary. But I realised very quickly after getting the sanctuary, being able to rescue a few animals here, it is not enough. I'm like everyone else. I'm frightened, I'm frustrated, I'm confused, I'm angry, all these emotions coursing through me. How do we make positive change? For me, I come from an era that many of you won't remember, before social media, before this kind of chat was available. You had to, the only platform you got to get your message out there was the mainstream media. So you had to find a vehicle in which to do that. Mine, because I've always been relatively sporty, despite losing the kneecap and being told I wouldn't be able to walk or run properly again, I chose marathon running back almost 2 decades ago, purely because it was kind of strategic. In terms of the fact that a marathon runner called Paula Radcliffe in the UK, she was doing really, really well, broke the world record in the event, and all the kind of hashtags, if you like, were being associated to this particular event. It's really tough, it's really challenging, mentally and physically, you've got to be on your A game to do it. And that's where I come from. I wanted to show that as a vegan, you can be all those things. It's not prohibitive to excellence in endurance sport and the most demanding events in the world. That's that's my bit of activism. I didn't realize back at the time how impactful that would be on the climate. And that's the thing that this is new to us all. What's happening is staggering. It's humbling, it's frightening, but we can make a difference together, pooling all our resources. Yes, we're individuals and we'll each have different ways and different skill sets that we can bring to this movement, but together globally we must work as a unified force for good. I will say that it has been a challenge, even for me, to get the vegan message out there using the mainstream media. They have been very, very, very reluctant to embrace this vegan message. Back to, I even cite that in 2013, when I broke the world record, I was asked by the BBC not to mention the fact that I was vegan. So we have got an opportunity now through different avenues to push this climate agenda forward in a peaceful, proactive and positive way. I mean, I come from a generation, I'm probably older than a lot of your grandparents, to be honest with you. And I was there back in, 1995 when Jill Phipps, sadly got killed trying to protect animals being exported abroad, trying to promote veganism. Keith Mann was another kind of trailblazer in the vegan movement. People that probably you've never heard of. So for me, it's a great honor to be able to play some tiny part. Probably by experience, I see how things are changing. I'm outside literally all the time. I've got the sanctuary, I do the marathon running, I've got the world record, so I still do a lot of training. And I see how the climate is changing. I see how the seasons are changing, and it's really, really speeding up. But we didn't have any rain right through to April in the UK. And I've organised a race in Morocco with a very great runner called Mohammed Amsel to highlight desertification in the Sahara desert. And at the time, I made a short video for the Running for Good, the races page. And actually the ground in the UK where I was actually training was cracked, it was broken, there were deep ravines in it. It looked like I was filming it in the desert practically. So I see that with this, because obviously I have to be very heavily involved in buying crops and, hay and, all products that come from the ground for the animals. I see how this seasonal imbalance is impacting now on production of food that we need. And, these things, we've seen images back in 1984, we saw the drought in Ethiopia and the starvation in Ethiopia. And these were images that, in the West, we'd never really been exposed to. Bob Geldof brought us these terrible, terrible atrocities. And I feel generationally very let down by my own generation that we didn't do something then. We kind of extracted ourselves from the situation and thought if we sent a few pounds abroad, it would all be all right. And I've always said that what makes you feel that because you live in the West, this can't come to you? What makes you feel that this is unique to another continent? What gives you the right to ignore the plight of others, whether it be animals or people? And this is a message that has been ignored, especially in the Western world. Continually being told what you need, manufacturers, advertisers, government, you need to buy this, you need to buy that, all born out of greed. And I think for myself, I do eat one meal a day. I mean, I've been told that that's a bit weird, but that's what I survive on, one meal a day, very basic plant-based foods, locally sourced where I can. And my feeling is that together we need to understand that all the things that we do, all the different things that you can do to combat climate change, whether it be by going vegan or your carbon footprint through travel, all the things, reducing fossil fuels, ultimately we have to realize that it's all going to be useless unless we understand, especially in the Western world, that we have to use less. We have to change our lifestyles. It's not going to be easy. But it is doable. I do believe that even after 5 decades of frustratingly banging on about various issues and being ignored, this is the time for future generations to grab this opportunity and literally, a bit of a pun here, run with it. And that's very, very energizing for myself. And I'm just privileged to be alive at this pivotal point. I hope it's a pivotal point in history to be, where we are going to be able to make this change. And as people have said, it's the planet, I think, will survive in the future. It's humanity that won't. That's what we need to understand. Animals will find a way of adapting. They're far more resilient than we're led to believe. They will find a way. It's us humans that won't. So we really need to take this message very seriously, very on board, and work together to make this happen, because there are going to be challenges and there are going to be resistances, because I have walked this planet a lot longer than most people on here, but I do realize that to the authorities and the governments that you are challenging, money is king, finance is king, and we need to make them understand that we don't want that anymore. We don't want that sort of existence. When they talk about returning to normal, the new normal we want to see is completely different, and it's a fairer distribution of global resources that I would say is the most imperative thing. And for that, Western world needs to understand that we've been taking far too much for far too long.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Fiona. Yeah, very well said, hard hitting. Yeah, I think on that, before we go into in depth on any of that, over to you, Penny. If you could give a little summary of, you know, what you're doing and you know, anything else you'd like to expand on.
Yeah, sure. So I think you all can hear me. I'm working on 4G. But I'm Penny. I'm known as Threads for a Penny on Instagram. And I basically kind of use that platform to encourage people to shop sustainably, shop secondhand, shop from their own wardrobe, be a bit more conscious, sort of as they shop, basically, to do with, you know, fashion, etc. I also showcase upcycles that I do and encourage people to do the same. And of course, that's all part of shopping consciously and making sure that our impact on the environment when it comes to fashion isn't so large. I've also kind of recently branched into exploring eco swaps and showing that it's actually quite easy to do some swaps, you know, things like reusable razors or reusable water bottles, etc. And actually cheaper than the non-eco alternative. So that's kind of what I do on my Instagram. And I do it because, you know, I care about the climate issue. It's an intersectional issue. It impacts everyone, but especially the more disadvantaged people in the global south, and it's not fair. And I think it's important. I think we really have to take drastic action before it's literally too late for humanity. And as Fiona said, humanity is going to die, the Earth's going to live on. This is to save us as well as the planet, but you know, the planet will live on. And in terms of kind of the again, as Fiona said, I'm also not an expert, but I have done some research mainly into fast fashion and the impacts of fast fashion on the environment, on people, etc. So just a couple stats for you guys. It's been calculated that the fashion industry produces 10% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions, which I think is crazy. And due to the fastness of fast fashion, you know, they probably cut environmental corners. It's not regulated, so they're not being caught out doing this kind of thing. And fast fashion, because it's so fast, it allows for people to buy more, keep less, dispose of their clothes, etc. And it's just fueling the capitalist consumerism culture even more. And the discarded clothes, they often end up in landfills, could be incinerated, which of course is even worse for the environment. And then many materials used for fast fashion and fashion in general actually aren't biodegradable. They also have microfibers that they shed, which are likely to end up in the ocean, where they're followed by sea life, harming them, obviously, and then subsequently harming us by ending up in our food when we eat it. So, you know, fashion needs to be a circular system, but not circular as it is now, because right now it's, you know, circles and harms its customers and consumers after already hurting the environment. So it's just a huge, huge issue that I'm really passionate about, and I really think that people need to be more conscious when they shop. I always say on my Instagram, though, that if you have to shop from fast fashion places, you know, due to sizing issue, because sustainable fashion definitely isn't size inclusive, or if, you know, that's the only means that you have to buy clothing, there's absolutely no shame in that. But we should be putting pressure on people who can afford to be doing that. We should be telling them, don't shop at fast fashion, you know, shop from sustainable places, shop secondhand, mostly shop from your own wardrobe, swap with people, because there are enough clothes in the world to clothe all of us, you know. So I think it's really important to encourage each other to reduce that impact on the environment. That's what I'm trying to do with my Instagram, and that's why I think the climate app is so great and will be a success, because it's just needed and people bounce off each other. You know, hopefully it will be like a domino effect, and a quick domino effect, because it needs to be quick. And then once we've kind of got that domino effect with people, hopefully governments, corporations, big brands can take note and take the drastic action that's actually needed. Because of course we can all do our bit, but I really think it's up to the big corporations, the government, to regulate, because they are the biggest producers of, you know, climate harming. So yeah, that's
Great.
a bit about me.
Great, Penny. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so many important points you said there. And if anyone wants to see your Instagram channel, it's at Threads for a Penny, I believe. And I think you've got various other channels as well, that you talk about sustainable fashion, etc. Okay, so just for anyone watching, you know, feel free to put any questions in the chat and we'll ask them out. We've had one recently for Fiona. In your travels over 7 continents, what has most struck you about the changing environment?
Yeah, I mean, I want to, you know, nobody's perfect, and I'm least of all that person that is perfect. I never purport to be. I never judge others' circumstances. I will explain that when I say I did the 7 continents challenge in 2013, it was literally, I feel guilty for doing it. It wouldn't be my choice to be hopping around the world and going and doing marathons on every continent. It wasn't how I started at all. This is relevant, by the way, I'm getting there. I started marathon running purely to promote veganism. Yeah, I wanted to complete a marathon. That's all I wanted to do initially, just get round one and show that vegans aren't weak and frail and don't look like they've been dug up. They can get round a marathon, this tough event. For years, I spent placing, you know, top 20s in the London marathons. I ran a PB of 2 hours 38. I'm not bragging, by the way. I was getting ignored. I mean, the media were just ignoring the big issue I was doing it. You know, okay, firefighting woman with one knee places in the London Marathon. That weren't what I wanted. I wanted the vegan word out there. The vegan. That's why we started the Vegan Running Club in 2004, so people would make an equation. Hang about, she's on the elite start line of the London Marathon. What's this vegan thing that she's got going on? I want part of that, just to get people to recognise this word. Back then, I couldn't do it on social media. There wasn't social media. And I will say that one thing I am proud about with the sustainability of a vegan lifestyle, and I know I'll go on a bit, I'm back on that elite start, the London Marathon, in next month. So you can see the longevity. That was the issue here, to show that as a vegan, very basic whole food diet, you can do anything. So anyway, back to forward wind to the question. After a while, this punishing regime I was running of 100 and 120 miles a week, 9 sessions a week, literally pasting myself, to not, kind of getting the message out there, and that I was exposing the crowd to the word vegan, but I wasn't really getting the message out there with the mainstream as I would like to. I remember one fateful incident when I was voted Inspirational Woman of the Year by the Daily Mail. I mean, can you imagine? So my mum runs off down the paper shop, as your mum would, and buys about 20 copies of the Daily Mail, brings them all home. We're flicking through it. And I'm looking at, where does it say about the vegan thing? Where does it say? And it didn't mention the word vegan. So I was kind of looking, what do I have to do? I've run these really quick marathons. I can't run any quicker. So I went off then and decided I'd go around the world and win marathons, break course records. Still, there was a bit of negativity. Well, actually apathy towards the vegan issue. Then I kind of did the toughest foot race on the planet in the Sahara Desert, Marathon de Sable. Yeah, that got a little bit of more interest. First vegan woman to complete this ridiculous event, week-long event. But then I got introduced to the idea of the polar marathons. It was really the North Pole Marathon. Somebody said, you want to get your message across there. Why don't you go and run the North Pole Marathon? As if that's something you just like, oh, well, just run the North Pole Marathon. In the kind of very childlike equation that if you've run a marathon and it is at the North Pole, you've ticked every box you possibly can for veganism and the strength of a vegan individual. That was all it was about. The most impactful thing when I was at the North Pole is because I won the race and because I was way ahead of basically most other people in the race. The Russians at the base, Camp Barneo, where this race is held, offered to chopper us to the actual geographic North Pole as a kind of prize for winning. And I was very naive. I mean, I am still naive. I don't know much about anything, to be honest with you. But we were going in this very, very kind of archaic Russian chopper to the North Pole from the base Camp Barneo. And one of the guides kind of nudged me, and he kind of nudged me to look down. And I looked down and there was a polar bear. And I just thought, this is a polar ice cap. Surely they don't come in this far near to the North Pole. And one of the kind of researchers down there, he split his time between the North and South Pole. And he said there are current projections, bearing in mind this is 2013, that the polar ice cap will not be underwater. It will be underwater. There will be no ice there in about 15 to 20 years. He said, in his opinion, it will be nearer to 10. And you do the math. That was 2013. And we're in 2021 now. And I think being in Svalbard, seeing the kind of starving polar bears clutching at tiny bits of ice floe, that was the most impactful thing that I've ever seen. And to be honest with you, that's what really kind of woke me up to climate change. Bearing in mind that I've been vegan because I love animals. I knew it's wrong to harm animals. I knew that the animal agriculture industry is atrocious, the cruelty, but also it can't make sense to be making these carbon emissions by keeping all these and everything that goes with having animal products, you know, just literally the feeding of the animals, all the crops it takes, the unfair distribution of the resources to feed them. This cannot make sense to just be feeding people in the West an unhealthy product which was making them ill. That's where I came from. But that in 2013 being at the North Pole really got me on, this is a bit bigger issue now, Fiona. This is like not just saving animals, individual health. This is the planet. This is going way further than I could possibly have imagined as a 6-year-old child being vegan. That's where these issues really stem from with me. So it's probably been at the North Pole in 2013.
Amazing experiences. Thank you for all of that. Very, very interesting indeed. And we've got many more questions coming in. One for you, Penny. What is fast fashion and why is it so bad?
Good question. So fast fashion is basically in the name. The explanation is in the name. It's fashion that essentially goes from the runway or from a celebrity look, you know, gets made in a factory, gets designed, copied a lot of the time, and then mass produced within days. So of course, that can be good for no one. And, you know, it being so fast, it affects the workers. It affects the environment because corners are cut. You know, they're outsourcing their work to other countries. They have to fly the garments from those other countries to wherever the garments are being distributed, etc. So, and ever be healthy for the environment, because as long as it's fast, you know, it's awful. Normal fashion in itself, non kind of fast fashion, can also be bad, but the fact that it's so fast is very, very damaging. And what was the second part? Did I answer it?
I think you did, yeah.
I've got two microphones working then. The second part was what is it and why is it so bad? I think you did answer that indeed. Is it okay if someone buys, say, one garment from Primark or something like this and uses it for several years? Is that still, you know, is that still bad that it's come from there even though they've made it last?
It's definitely less bad. I think it's amazing if you know, wear your clothes for years and years and years, and that is the most sustainable that you can be when it comes to clothing. Re-wearing your own clothes, you know, having clothes for years. So yeah, it is. Obviously, it would be better if it was from a sustainably made source and you wore it for years and years and years, but I think there's absolutely no shame in buying from Primark and wearing it for years and years and years.
I think that's a good point about making sure that the chain is sustainable in itself and making sure that we've got these circular loops going on in which you're not, you know, every stage in that process is you know, eating up all the natural resources, and it just goes to landfill at the end of the day. Okay, yeah. So quite a few more questions coming in. Sometimes it's a bit difficult for me to manage to listen and to go through all these questions, so apologies. We've got one for Fiona from Kirsty. I'll go to this one first. How did the BBC explain asking you not to mention being a vegan?
They didn't. This is 2013. I came roaring back from the North Pole, full of the joys of what I'd done, and bearing in mind that I'd got very little interest in, you know, my achievements up to that point. The phone started to run hot. You know, literally, I was round at my mum's little cottage, and phone rang, and it was somebody from the BBC got my number. You know, will you come up? Will you talk about, you know, this amazing woman? You know, you're a British woman, North Pole, who has got all the right boxes ticked here. And I thought, fantastic! I have cracked it. This is it. I can talk about veganism. So they said, you know, we'll ring you back in half an hour and chat through the logistics. You know, like I'm in Essex. It was up in Salford. And the researcher rang me back and she said, they tell you what you can wear, you know, they were telling you, you know, what they expect you to look like, you know, come in your gear and all this kind of thing. I ran in UVU gear and that's fine, yeah. And then she said, oh, we prefer you not to mention the fact that you're vegan. I was really taken back. I am still very naive. I'm not media savvy at all. I just all comes blurting out. And I couldn't really believe it. I could believe it, but I couldn't believe it, if you get the drift. And I kind of had to make a decision. Do I go up there and kind of inadvertently try to mention the fact, or put a kind of compelling enough representation of myself forward that people might check me out a little bit more and find out that I'm vegan, or do I not go? And, you know, I'm not kind of somebody like, you know, Beyonce knows, I can't click my fingers and say, oh, I'm coming on, you know, this show or that show. Media opportunities back then for somebody like me were practically non-existent. So this was in essence everything I'd worked for. So I decided to go, and I felt very, I mean, it's interviews on YouTube, I mean, I felt very uncomfortable, even to the point when I think they asked me, what made you run a marathon at the North Pole? Well, bearing in mind, doing a lot of travel, being away from the sanctuary, all the carbon emissions, even then I knew about, it wasn't something that I'd really wanted to do. And I think that they would have been far more comfortable if I'd have said, oh, I'm just an adrenaline junkie that just wanted to go, and oh, isn't she great? And that's not it at all. I was trying to use this as a platform to get my message out there, and basically it all come blurting out. And it was like, oh, get her off, court, or no uptake on it at all. And I, you know, I just said, you know, I'm an honorary patron of the Vegan Society, and it's their 70th anniversary next year, and I wanted to do something to commemorate that positively, and to generate interest and engender interest in veganism. So I decided to take on this challenge, and that's basically what happened. They just didn't want me to talk about it. I did actually have Mike Bushnell at the sanctuary a couple of years later. I was running off the elite start in the London Marathon, and I did ask him, why is this negativity? Why would this happen? And he said, well, veganism, this is 2015, is aligned to kind of a terrorism in terms of a fanatical stance that we don't accommodate. All right, oh right, okay. Yeah, and that was it. And this is when people kind of ask me about Extinction Rebellion's tactics and the tactics of more disruption to get the message out there. This is where I've got kind of my own set of opinions in terms of probably slightly controversial to some people, and I can only talk from my own experiences. But genuinely speaking, I've tried really hard, passively, proactively, and peacefully and non-confrontationally to promote veganism. And let's put it like this, it wasn't really getting me very far. In terms of, in fact, when people do say to me, what's the hardest race you've ever run? They've been flat, fast road marathons, running under 240 with a disability and no coaches, no nothing like that. I've got nothing special to help me with my running at all. I train alone. I've never had a coach or physio. Nobody wanted to touch me because I was vegan. It's been a challenge. But they always want the more sexy races. They always want the more kind of, you know, North Pole, Sahara Desert, Antarctica, when they've not been the most difficult things that I've done. But it's all just been trying to be creative and cunning, if you like, in to get the message out there. But yeah, that's how it all was. It's changed now, obviously, but back probably about 2016, I saw the change, the more acceptance of veganism. But certainly before then, it's been hard. It's been really hard.
Amazing, Fiona. I mean, I've spoken to you at length already at this, and I enjoyed that conversation so much. But the pain and the perseverance in not only just your running, but throughout your life is just so, for me, it's so inspirational and so motivating that it just makes me want to, you know, make sure that this tool is as good as it can be, that we're developing. We can take everything that you've done and just make it super easy for people. And
yeah, and I can I just say, I don't want to butt in, but I want to say something that Penny said that really, really made me smile. For a youngster or young person, I don't, you know, I'm a lot older than you. I come from a time when exactly what Penny's saying now I've got an older sister, and I had to have her clothes when I was little, and we were having hand-me-downs, and that's exactly, it was made, oh, you know, you must be poor. You people must be poor, or I'm still wearing the same clothes I was wearing like 30 years ago. Not literally, I have washed them, I will say, but you know what I mean. It's so important, and it's so inspirational for me to hear somebody from a completely different generation and set of circumstances and times, like Penny, saying the same thing. So although age groups may be different, demographics may be different, we're all different individuals, we're all kind of coming to the same conclusion. We're all making different journeys and different kind of routes to get there, but we're all coming to that same one place and reasoning together that this is how we can make this happen. And I will say I'm a big one for the old charity shops and buying, the only thing that I ever have new is my running shoes and my running socks. The rest of it, just, anything that'll do the job I have. So it's so inspirational to hear somebody like Penny saying that now and reaching the audience that she can reach, current generations and future generations. Amazing.
Well said, absolutely. And I think that follows on nicely to a question we have for Penny. It's from Tiffany. Penny, I sew a lot of my own clothes. Do you recommend trying to source all organic materials to make new things like bamboo and cotton, which are sustainable, or reuse fabrics like polyester, which are already made? So making new things with bamboo and cotton, or reusing fabrics from polyester, which is already made. I don't know if you can hear us right now, Penny, but we can't hear you. I think Penny's 4G might have just dropped.
That's a really good question.
Oh, you're back, Penny. We couldn't hear you for a bit.
Can you hear me now? Okay, good. I think that's a really interesting question, and it's really difficult to answer, because with polyester and kind of fake man-made materials, they're more likely to kind of be worse for the environment in terms of bad for us, bad for the
Okay, well, we've lost Penny there. Penny, if you can hear me, maybe turn off your video.
New materials, not environmentally friendly, creating, etc. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I'm not sure where you lost me, but I would say it's better to reuse, because it's just contributing even further, and it's not really a circular system. So I think reusing what we've got is the best way to go, if you're able to source that kind of material. But I think it's amazing that you make a lot of your own clothes. That's very, very sustainable and incredible.
Great, thank you, Penny. Okay, we have a couple more questions. We have actually a question about the climate app, and how it's progressing, and how it is seen as it will impact on changing people's views. So I'll just quickly go into that. So we're very much, we've started externally testing now. We'll be doing our first large-scale test starting in a few days. We are just finishing 2 little bugs with push notifications at the moment, and making sure that people can delete their account, and that will enable us to plug into Facebook and allow people to follow each other via Facebook and sign in via Facebook. We've got 5 people on the design team now working on the version 2, version 3 of the app. So we've just basically done version 1. So it's super exciting. We've got several amazing developers, from Sky and WhatsApp, to name a few, developing it. And on how it is seen as it will impact people's views, I think what will be very important about it is creating a place which is positive, and that we can see each other's actions. I see those two things being incredibly important. There is, the crisis is such a negative and huge thing that we've got to somehow spin that around a bit, because people seem to work best with positive reinforcement. And according to science, people only ever change their behavior once they see other people doing these things as well. So if we can start to showcase all those actions, then of course that's going to be super powerful. And we've got lots of other psychological things we can do, such as gamification and things like this, to keep people using it and start simple and allowing people to get more complicated as they go. But at the end of the day, the success of this project will rest upon us being able to convert those who don't currently care about the climate crisis. Initially, we need to make sure that people who already care and doing actions are using the app. But eventually, it will judge the success of this if we invite someone who doesn't really care about the climate, etc. And whether the onboarding process has managed to give them the understanding and the emotional feeling about the crisis as well. If we can do that, particularly on the onboarding process, because you literally have maybe 30 seconds, 60 seconds of someone's attention at that point. So the onboarding process will understand what level are you at in your climate knowledge, and then change the onboarding process depending on that. And then kind of similar to Duolingo, where it starts off very easy, it kind of brings you in, let's say. So that's version 2 and version 3 of the app, which is going to take much more inspiration from how Duolingo has done it, and using all the other psychological things we've learned for how to keep people doing actions over time as well. So we hope that once the tool is there, once it becomes easy for people to show their actions and know what to do, that this will just make it so much easier. It'll be the ignition for this movement of action. So that's the theory. And there's a lot of people putting in a lot of time and effort into this. But of course, it's going to only happen if we make the product super good, and if everyone does put their energy into particularly creating the initial community and people that will end up doing this. I think Greta Thunberg is known as the spark for the movement of awareness, so hopefully everyone behind the climate app can be known for the spark of this movement of action. So bit of a side thing to the current conversation, so I want to go back as soon as possible to our awesome speakers. Max, have you joined? Can you hear me? Are you there by any chance? Excellent.
Finally.
Excellent. Brilliant to see you.
Yeah,
how are you?
Wi-Fi and we're working.
Amazing. Oh, that's great to see you. So off the back of Tokyo Olympics, we've got Max Litchfield, who was also in Rio 2016. So over to you, Max. Do you want to give a bit of an intro to yourself and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I'll share my screen. I've put it's a little bit. Oh, I can't share my screen. Never mind. Don't worry. Yeah. So as Sam said, Sam is a swimmer. And yeah, I swam in Rio and I swam in Tokyo.
So I've just given you permission to share your screen now.
Okay.
Sorry,
Cool.
that was an annoying thing.
No, I'm trying to record. What am I doing? There we go. Share. This one. Is that working? Maybe.
Perfect.
Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Max, as you just said. Where do we go next? There we go. So yeah, who I am, I guess. So yeah, I'm a Team GB swimmer. So I've swum since I was like 4 years old or something. So I've always been in the sport. Yeah, and I swam in Rio and in Tokyo, as Sam just said. And I've kind of been on the team pretty much since 2016 now, on the senior team. So I'm kind of one of the seniors on the team now, which is kind of scary because I don't feel senior, but that's what happens. And yeah, so I've been around the team a long time, and I think part of what I'm going to talk about in a second, like the fact that I feel like I can change things in swimming, and especially in sport as well, because I think like certain things you just can't get around as an athlete, especially in terms of like plastics and stuff. Like there's so many supplements and stuff that I have to take, especially when I'm away, like now, that, you know, they're like impossible to get around. So things like that, hopefully I can try and get people to look at and change in the future. So yeah. And then kind of about what started my journey. So it was actually like, well, I've always been climate conscious. I've always been conscious of what I do. And always kind of been, as a kid, just conscious of like generally recycling and stuff, and very, very basics. And to me, that was like, wow, this is all I can do. I'm doing the best I can to help the planet by recycling, which, as you guys all know, is probably potentially one of the worst things you could do, because, you know, recycling is just a broken system, and you know, it's tough to help through that. So, but yeah, last year in lockdown, the first lockdown, was it last year or the year before? Last year. These years all blend into one at the moment, don't they? So, but yeah, last year, I was just kind of at home in lockdown. I was training at home. I managed to get a bike and stuff, so I was kept training through the first lockdown. And I came across these guys, Bamboo Brush, on Instagram, and I saw a fact that was like every single plastic toothbrush we've ever owned is still on this planet today, and that kind of like hit home to me. And then I was thinking about every other thing that I've ever used that is basically still on this planet, because half the stuff I've recycled is still on this planet and not been recycled into something else, because obviously it's some things aren't recyclable and some just don't get recycled properly. So that really hit home hard, and that made me think about what I could do and what difference I could make. And I got involved with Bamboo Brush, and then I saw it was actually one of my friends who swims as well that showed me the climate app and got me in touch with Sam, and it just kind of kicked off from there, really. And I just thought it was an amazing thing, because like I was in a position where I had no idea what I could do, or I thought I was doing everything I could, but in reality that was the worst thing I could be doing. So that I just thought something like the climate app, which can spread awareness and spread ideas and positivity to something that's very it's very difficult to get your head around. You know, it's something that, like, you know, people are like, well, what's the point? Because we're not going to beat this. And it's like, well, if you have that attitude, then yeah, we're not. But you can make so many simple changes, and the app is amazing for getting those out into public, and you know, making people more aware of the issues that faces with climate change. So yeah, that's kind of how my journey started, and to here. So I've only been, I guess, fully involved in this system for like a year and a bit now, and hopefully I can kind of continue to do so in the future. This is a very simple, but like, I guess a silly question, like the planet, like it's pretty obvious. You know, we have a limited lifetime on this planet if we continue like we do. So that's one of the reasons I think we have to, like, I want my children to be able to see everything, you know, the glories of this planet as I've seen it, and you know, if we continue like this right now, then that's not going to happen. So yeah, it's horrible. Like even being here, so I'm in Naples right now for the ISL, so it's like a swimming league, and I've never seen a city more littered with rubbish than this. It's absolutely disgusting. Like literally every street I'm on, there's just plastic bottles, rubbish, and beer cans, and it's everywhere. And some of the guys went in the ocean the other day, and they were like, they got in and they thought there was like fish everywhere, but it was just like horrible plastics and face masks and just touching them. Like it's horrible that it's come to that, and there's places in the world that are like that. You know, I'd love to come back out here and do a cleanup at some point. We need to make that happen at some point. But like it's horrible. So, but yeah, like guys like Sam and everyone at the Climate app are so dedicated to making this a difference, making this app make a difference. And I'm sure we'll do that over the next coming years. And kind of like what I'm doing, I kind of got into it anyway, but I've organized a few cleanups and stuff this year. Well, I've organized one big cleanup, and then I've kind of got other people to start doing it. My mum and dad and my sister at home, we've got 3 dogs at home, and every time they go out now at home, they bring a bag with them. And pretty much every day, we live in like a tiny village, maybe like 100 people in the village, and every single day there's more rubbish on the streets. It's horrible. Yeah, that was kind of one of the first things that hit home as well. And I think as soon as you start seeing it, you can't not see it, which is horrible. And then Bamboo Brush, bottom right, as I mentioned before, you know, they've gone beyond just the bamboo brush idea now. You know, they're helping in communities around the world, and they've gone into sustainable products, not toothbrushes, which is amazing. And those guys are awesome, and they've been working really hard on making a difference. And then kind of social media, I think that's the main thing really that I want to try and help with, is like promoting simple changes that we can all make in our daily lives through social media. I haven't got like a huge following on Instagram or anything, but you know, if I can make 1 or 2 people change their minds about something, then you know, that's a positive change in my mind. And if they then go and tell their family and friends about it, then awesome. Like I'm on the team Toronto Titans. You can see that there. So I'm on the team with a lot of Canadians, and then I was talking to some of the guys the other day, and they were all talking about how they had bar shampoo and bar conditioner, and like no one in the UK that I know, bar like myself and one of the guys I swim with, has that. And they were all like saying that they all have it. So it's amazing to see that there are other people out there that do care and have made this difference in their lives. So yeah, so hopefully I can kind of just make a difference through my social media channels, and I guess make a difference in the sport of swimming, and I guess in sport in general. Like I said before, there's got to be something we can do. I keep racking my brain when I'm at these meets, thinking like, how can we make a difference to this? Because obviously things like the Olympics are so bad. Like Tokyo was the greenest games ever, but the greenest games ever doesn't mean it wasn't bad for the climate. So yeah, I really want to kind of push things we can do in sport to make a difference, and hopefully over the next few years I can do that. So yeah, that's pretty much my talk. But yes, I'm more than happy to answer any questions and stuff from you guys. I don't know how I've thought this.
That's brilliant, Max. Thank you so much for that. It is so awesome to see you using your voice for the benefit of this cause. And just a quick follow-up question: how has that been? What has your experiences been when you've been talking about, you know, trying to be more sustainable? Has there been public reaction, or you know, reaction from friends, family, etc.?
I think it's been quite mixed in terms of the actual reaction. Like, I have some people that message me and they're like, "Oh my God, that's amazing! Like, I'd never even thought about that, or it's not even crossed my mind," which is the exact same as me like a year or so ago. So that's amazing to see. And then you get the other side of it, where I think people almost just don't care. But it's like our job is to make them care and to make them see that, you know, what we're doing to the planet is not sustainable, and it's not going to last. And if we keep doing it as we are, then we're just going to destroy the planet. So but yeah, I mean, I've had some stuff like we had the BBC about when was it? I can't remember. Probably my month's so messed up. I don't know what month it is now. It's September, isn't it? It was just before we went out to the Olympics. They came and did like a video with us in Loughborough, which is where I train. They did like a kind of just about my story really, and they came to our local plastic-free shop in Loughborough and kind of gave them some promotion. So yeah, so there's been some very good interest in it, and I think you're seeing it more and more and more. Like, I think obviously now I'm more aware of the problems myself. You do see them more anyway, but as I go through this process, there are more and more people that are reaching out, and you are seeing more people that are, that are interested in what you do and want to know how to make a difference. So I think that's really positive. So yeah.
Amazing, Max. That's really great that there's that you see a positive change there. Awesome. Okay, great. So we've got lots more questions coming in. So we have one about the app, which I'll just quickly answer, which is, oh God, I've lost it now. Do we plan to invite politicians and big business owners to use the app? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be speaking to Caroline Lucas soon about it and see her thoughts on how best to use it. But the idea is that by all of us individuals using it, we're going to be inviting people we know to it. We're going to be inviting CEOs, people at organizations. We're going to be inviting politicians to it. So they're going to start to be influenced by their friends and family to see the actions of everyone. And of course, we're going to have key individuals as well that they can follow, really inspirational figures. I haven't spoken to you yet, Max or Fiona or Penny, about this, but the idea is at the top of the feed, we're going to have perhaps you suggested that everyone can follow. And so they can just see a quick summary of, all the things that you've done on the app. And so those things will be really influential as well. But of course, the whole app, everything is orchestrated, is designed so that it is applying pressure on people with power and to show the aggregate effect of everyone. So there will be a lot of information and statistics on the app to show your effect on the wider community and also the issue as a whole and the large scale things we need to do, the big policies, the big changes in businesses, etc. We've got to be careful how we're going to get businesses to use the app. We don't want to make it uncool, because it needs to be a very individual led thing. But yeah, we'll roll out those plans soon and get your feedback on it soon. Great. Okay, so let's so many questions. It's difficult to know which one to choose because there's some great ones here. I'm gonna jump to one to Fiona, and this one is, I'm currently at the allotment whilst watching you all, and I'm keen to grow as much as I can as possible. What are your suggestions to encourage others to grow and eat vegan? How do we encourage people to move past consumerism and get back to a more basic way of life? And that's from Tiffany.
Yeah, well, if you're at an allotment, you're in the right place for gleaning experience from those around you. There's a great sort of groundswell of opinions down there. My dad, until very recently, is quite poorly now, but he grew a lot of the vegetables, and it was handed down information from my grandparents, really. I mean, start basic, potatoes are easy to grow, and what I find is the joy in when you've grown something yourself, you cherish it. You really, really think, I've grown this is amazing. You really respect your food. How to get others to encourage to eat vegan? It's kind of difficult. I always kind of, I think encouragement has got to be positive. I'm kind of radical with my diet, especially locally sourced is big for me. I always try to eat 10 colours on my plate every night, 10 coloured vegetables. That's what a coloured platter. Just by positivity, really, encouragement, sharing information. I do think that when you prepare something yourself from scratch, you tend to respect it more and think about more what you're consuming. For me, as I said, I'm vegan for the animals, always have been. I didn't realise the impact it would have on my own personal health, longevity, sustainability, recovery, on the individual health of people around the planet, by more fairly distributing the resources. and also on the environment as well. The one thing I will say about a vegan diet, though, or plant-based diet, whatever you want to call it, I think because mass commerce and manufacturing and kind of supermarkets and outlets have kind of thought, oh, there's a bit of a money spinner here. People tend to think that if it's plant-based labeled, it's got to be healthy. Be very, very careful of, if you're trying to promote veganism as a healthy diet. Yes, it's certainly more healthy for the animals, but avoid processed foods as much as possible, because there are a lot of unhealthy plant-based options out there at the minute, I have to say, the heavily processed foods. And also you've got to think about the sustainability of where those foods are sourced, the palm oil and stuff like that, the packaging even. So yeah, encouraging people to be vegan. I do my best with my running, and I think that's all we can be: positive, upbeat about it, and sharing information and say, you know, just showing the benefits of living vegan or plant-based, certainly around the allotment. But get in there, learn by experience. Growing is not easy, it's seasonal, and you have to be adaptable, I must say. But experience, keep at it is what I'd say. And you know, ask others, ask certainly the older generation down allotments. I mean, my granddad knew everything about everything and growing. So, you know, get in conversation with them.
Brilliant, brilliant. That'd be very interesting. I'm thinking of doing that now. I'm in a small village in Bulgaria, mountains. They don't really speak much English, but I'd love to get in a conversation with some of them about growing stuff here. I think that would be super interesting for many reasons. So I think we'll wrap it up now, because we were a bit over time, and we were just supposed to do an hour long. If there's any last questions, if there's anything really important, then please do put it there. There's one quick one from Kirsty to Max. Hi Max, I was a former swimmer. Can you give more examples of what specific things you think needs to be changed in swimming? And maybe this is the last one, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, I just direct messaged her back. I think, like, for me, it's the main thing is water bottles, because, you know, we're here in Italy. You know, the water is probably okay to drink, but I think a lot of people are kind of like scared that it's not going to be okay to drink. And there's just so much plastic going around. The same at the Olympics. We must have gone through, I mean, I don't even know, but it's got to be about 1 million bottles of water between the Olympics and the Paralympics, definitely. They said they were recycling it all. Whether they were or not, I don't know. And I don't really know the solution for that right now. But I want to think of one, because it's horrible to see. And the amount of meets we have across a year that are in the same position as that, it's kind of scary. So I think that's the main one personally. But there's a lot of things we can change, even like swimsuits themselves. They all come packaged in plastic. There's no need for them to be packaged in plastic. They're all made from virgin plastic most of the time, and fabrics. There's a great company actually based in Italy, that I'm hoping to get in contact with soon, that make all their suits from recycled plastics. So even things like that would be awesome. But literally all my kit bag that's there is pretty much plastic, like the stuff I use day to day. Like, obviously it has to be plastic to some extent, but where they're sourcing that plastic from, I think can change. That I think it's probably the same across a lot of sports. There's a lot we can do. So yeah, hopefully I can try and push that along to some extent and see what we can do in that area.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you all so much, and well done, Max, for getting your internet sorted. I understand you had to reset your Wi-Fi at your hotel to get this. You know, you had to go up the hierarchy at your hotel to get the manager to reset or whatever you had to do. So thank you for sorting that out. You managed to do it. Awesome. Great. And it was brilliant watching you in the Olympics as well. I was watching all live, and it was just so exciting. We were all cheering for you on the Climate App group, and you know, well done for the achievements. That is really impressive what you did. I don't think many of us on the call could do that. So thank you very much. In let's wrap up with a quick fire question. You're only allowed 3 words as the answer. This one goes to Fiona. How can we create a movement of action in 3 words?
Positivity, togetherness, and energy.
Brilliant. And Max, over to you. 3 words.
You stole positivity off me. I think of a synonym for positive. Sustainability, cliche, but it'll do. I think like the community, or local community, we'll take that as one word. And I'll go positivity, because we have to be positive about it. We can't not be, so yeah, positivity.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you so much, Fiona, and everyone for joining us here. Any last words from anyone? This will be recorded and posted out. Otherwise, hopefully the next thing you hear from us will be us launching the crowdfunder, the equity crowdfunder that we're just about to do. The videos, version 1 of the video has been made now. Look out for the external testing. Join the waiting list to be a beta tester, to get the app. We can all do this. Let's join forces, make this thing happen. Thank you all very much for joining us, and have a lovely evening or morning wherever you are in the world.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Ciao.
Yeah.